A dangerously incompetent review of the TVP VTU Koncept, Czechoslovakian Tier 8 medium tank. Let's start with the armour. See my armour guide for more details, but basically it's rubbish. Hull 65-40-30, yeah, it's pretty poor, but then you expect that from a medium tank. Turret armour 65 on the front, 40 on the sides. Well, that's rubbish. For a tier 8 medium tank, you expect a good turret. Rounded, thick, bouncy. No. 65mm, and it's very perpendicular. It's vertical, so it's perpendicular to the enemy's shots. So it's not even angled well to get more effective armour. So it's just rubbish all round. Everything will penetrate you. Even tier 6s don't have any trouble penetrating you, so bad news there. Mobility wise, it's actually pretty good. Top speed of 50. It doesn't feel very fast, but then it's a big tank, so you're not actually moving that much compared to the size of your tank, so it makes it feel sluggish. But it does actually get a good lick of speed and decent traverse, and the specific power is pretty good. 19. Good enough to flex from one side of the battlefield to the other. It's good enough to brawl with, but it's not good enough to active spot or dodge shots when you're brawling. And when you're brawling, you've either got to dodge the shots by moving around faster than the enemy can move their turret and gun to you, or you've got to count on armour to bounce some stuff, and this doesn't have armour. Great. Gun's alright. It's got two different guns, essentially. He's got the sort of 100 that you got, 100mm you got off the T34-100 that you can start with if you want, and then you can go up to 105mm, and it's also got this 88mm. Now I looked at it and I thought, oh, that 88mm, I'll start with that one because it looks pretty decent. Its DPM is better than the 105, its rate of fire is better, its penetration is slightly better, its damage is about a third less than the 105, or the 105 is half as much again. That's quite a significant difference. Then it's got reasonable accuracy and the aiming time is a bit long. But the other gun handling stats, the depression is 8 degrees, that's okay. Not exactly crest fighting material, but it means you don't struggle to get your gun down. And the reticle bloom isn't bad. So all in all, it's a much nicer gun to shoot with. But and even though its DPM is higher than the 105 centimeter is the better performing gun. I stuck with the 88 for quite some time, but when I switched over to the 105, I instantly did better in battles, and it's all down to alpha. Half again as much alpha is a significant difference. You pop out, you go boom, you go back into cover. Your reload time is so long. By the time you pop out again, you've dropped your spot. So it just works better in battle. Even though its rate of fire is poor, penetration is not great. Oh, it's okay. Average damage is pretty good, but the dispersion accuracy not great, and the aiming time is even longer, and it's got more weight. And it's heavier, and the gun depression goes down. You get less gun depression. With the top turret, you can have 6 degrees of gun depression, so you're starting to struggle to get your gun down in certain positions. All that being said, you want to be using this gun. Oh, while we're talking about gun depression, funny thing happened when you go from the stock turret to the top turret. If you're using the 88mm gun, your gun depression is reduced from 8 to 6 degrees. No, 6 degrees or 5 degrees? No, 5. I've forgotten. Anyway, it gets less as you go up when you get a better turret. Ha ha. And with the top gun and the top turret, you get 6 degrees of gun depression. The other thing that seems to save this gun, it gets a bit of the hand of Stalin. It is effectively more accurate than you would expect from its stats, or that I expected from its stats. It's probably because this tank is a Soviet era communist tank, so it's got the hand of Stalin buff. Camouflage! Ah, look at the size of this thing. Your camouflage is not good. Mind you, that doesn't stop me trying with keeping me crew's camouflage skills up. And when you're playing this tank, I would heartily recommend getting your camouflage skills up. It's not maneuverable enough to dodge shots, the armor's not good enough to stop shots, so all that remains is not being seen to avoid damage. And to do that, camouflage skill on your crew really helps. View range is pretty good, 380 as the base. I whacked in the coated optics and 100% commander, and you hit 441, which is just over the maximum view range. Which means when you're stuck in being bottom tier, passive spotting is an eminently sensible and effective thing to do. It's fast enough to get into that perfect bush before everyone can see you and all the enemy can see you, and you've got the view range once you're there. So passive spotting is a thing you can do with this tank. It's not the only thing you want to do with this tank. It does have a reasonable gun, so you want to use that. But to start with, when you're low tier in the battle, then passive spotting is way to go. Equipment, what did I use? It has a vertical stabilizer, so you fit the vertical stabilizer. Coated optics to get your view range. Then I went for enhanced gun lane drive because of the initial inaccuracy and the long aim time, but you could go with gun rammer if you favour more weight of fire in your actions. I went with a large first aid kit, large repair kit, large fire extinguisher. This tank seems to be made of ammo rack, so you might want to have a large repair kit and a small repair kit. Knock out the automatic fire extinguisher. It happens so often, like every third shot that penetrates you, there goes your ammo rack. I think it's the ammo rack's in here and it's up here as well. It happened that often. Once your poor rate of fire drops to positively snail pace, and everything's penetrating you. So by the time if you're ammo racked, by the time you've reloaded, you're dead. Skills wise, when you're starting out with this tank, and if you're grinding through stock, Sixth Sense and camouflage. Hide at the back, snipe, don't be seen, is my recommendation. Then once you can retrain to 100% quickly, well, do the retraining bit, your camouflage has gone up and you're onto the second skill, then I should go for the gunner, snapshot for more initial accuracy, and your driver, smooth ride for more initial accuracy, everything else whatever you like. Free XP and your stock grind. That 88mm gun is tempting, but not really worth it. If you got the free XP, I'd go straight to this gun. But it's heavier, so you're going to have to upgrade the tracks first. So you're looking at 85, well, is it 18 and 18 is 36, 43, 50, you're looking at 53,000 free XP in order to mount this gun, but it's worth it if you got the free XP. If you don't have that much free XP banging around, I would go for this gun. Put this gun first. You'll have probably have unlocked it for the T34-100. I think you might have to, yeah, you'll need to do the tracks first for that. So spend your free XP on doing your tracks, and then you can put that gun in, and it's almost as effective as that. Thereafter, you want to get to that gun as quickly as possible, and then after that, engine and turret. I didn't even bother installing the tier 10 radio. 415 millimeters, meters, not millimeters. Signal range is more than enough. Comparing it to other tanks of its tier, say the Russian Object 416, the frying pan. The frying pan's DPM is 25% better. That's it, a quarter again as much DPM. That's a significant chunk. And its gun handling is better, so you make more of the hits count. Your shots count. Its movement is much better. Its armor is much better. Its camo is much better. Remember, it's really short tank. It's about this high. It comes up to the TVP's tracks. So the 416 all around, just better. Panther 2. What about the Germans? Well, the Panther 2 is known for a good gun, not so great armor and mobility, and the DPM is better. Its gun is better. Its alpha's less, but you're just shooting people so much more, and all your shots are going through because you've got the penetration and the accuracy. Movement's about the same, and the armour is better. British Centurion Mark 1. The movement is worse, the armour is much better, and its crest fighting is awesomely better because remember it's got lovely angled armour, it's got better armour, thicker armour, and it's got the gun depression to use that all on the crest. On the flat, the Centurion is about the same, but as soon as you get to crests, the Centurion shines, and this thing doesn't. This thing will struggle to get its gun down when you're trying to fight a crest. What about light tanks? Russian T-54 lightweight has better DPM. That's right, the light tank has better DPM than the medium. The penetration's a bit lower, but yeah. And all round its gun handling on the T-54 lightweight is better. Its movement is better, why you expect that, it's a light tank. Its armour is better, it's much better. That's right, the light tank armour is better than the medium tank armour. The lightweight has that hemispherical turret, rounded and thick. At the front, 160mm of armour, compared to 65mm armour for the Koncept. So 2.5 times as much armour on the front of the turret, just where it needs it. Yeah. The T-54 lightweight is all round better than this medium tank. Oh, apart from one tiny detail. The T-54 lightweight does have a low ammo count. But everything else, better. All round, better tank. How to play this tank? I had to tell myself all the time, I am a support tank. I should not push. I must not be in the front. You can't brawl with this tank. Well, you can brawl, but you won't last long. Every shot will hit you, every shot will penetrate you, and you'll die pretty quickly. So you can't poke the enemy to make a breakthrough. You can't make a breakthrough. You can't brawl your way through. You can support a push because you've got the speed to keep up with people, and you've got a decent gun. But doing it on being the lead tank, no, that'll just get you killed really quickly. So what does that leave? Well, I mentioned passive spotting when you're lower tier, but sniping. You can snipe quite effectively with this tank, even though it's inaccurate and it's got the long aiming time. You won't get the weak spot shots at long range, but you can still pretty reliably hit the enemy tanks at long range, due to that hand of Stalin effect. So sniping is workable with this tank, and you've got the maneuverability, speed and maneuverability to move sniping positions when you run out of shots or you're about to be overrun. So that's how I would play this tank. To start with, in a battle, you spot passively or snipe from the back. Then once a breakthrough starts, then you go and support that breakthrough. You add your firepower to theirs to concentrate it and destroy the enemy in a small area really quickly. But you don't active spot, and you don't lead a push. How did I do with it? Overall, I got a 54% win rate. When I was grinding through stock and my crew weren't 100%, it was well below that. And now I've got everything equipped and my crew's good, then I'm up to around 60% win rate at the moment. In summary, I'd say this tank is let down hugely by its armour. For a tier 8 medium, you expect good armour on the front of the turret, and it doesn't have it, so you can't go hull down. Hull down doesn't help much. Okay, you're a smaller target, but your armour's not going to stop it. Your turret armour's not going to stop anything, so you're not reducing the number of penetrations you're getting, just the number of hits a little bit. It's got decent mobility, it's got a decent gun, poor armour, and that lets it down. And it turned, any one of those got better. It's fast enough to active spot or brawl by dodging. Well, that's unlikely for a medium tank. If its gun was more accurate or fired faster, that would edge it up. Or if it only had the turret you expect from a tier 8 medium, all those would edge it from being a mediocre tank to being a good tank. Lots of other reviews say this is a rubbish tank. It's not rubbish, it's mediocre. It's just that when you're driving a mediocre tank and you run into a good tank, then the mediocre tank feels rubbish because you do so badly. Overall, this tank gets the Dangerously Incompetent meh rating.